Can we trust our senses, or are we living in the matrix? Political freedom is built on the foundation of reason. One of the quickest ways to enslave people is to destroy their ability to reason. The question of whether we can trust our senses or whether we're living in a matrix is a fundamental question of reason and epistemology. Epistemology is the branch of philosophy which studies how we know whether something is true or not. The hit movie The Matrix explores this philosophical issue. In this movie, the people are living in a computer simulation, and none of the things that they see or that they feel are real. The Matrix is basically a dramatization of Rene Descartes' evil genius philosophical problem. Rene Descartes was a philosopher, mathematician, and scientist who lived from 1593 to 1650. He is probably best known for analytic geometry. That's where the name Cartesian coordinates comes from. But he also proposed this philosophical problem where an all-powerful evil God systematically deceives all our senses, so we can't tell what's reality or not, or even if we exist. His solution as to how he knows that he exists is, I think, therefore I am. In the movie The Matrix, the way people know that they're in the matrix and not reality is that there are glitches in the matrix, such as events that repeat themselves, that is, deja vu events. Elon Musk has popularized the idea that we are in fact living in a computer simulation, the matrix, and some theories in physics are based on this idea. And when one considers the fact that Donald Trump, upon getting elected to office, said that the whole Epstein thing is a made-up hoax, and Dan Bongino, Deputy Director of the FBI, and Kash Patel, Director of the FBI, who had made such an issue about the Epstein case before the election, came out and said that the Epstein death was a suicide. And when you find out that Facebook and Google were CIA projects from the very beginning, and the NSA spies on us all the time, and Andy Warhol's success as an artist was all a CIA project, and the famous feminist Gloria Steinem was also a CIA project, it's hard to argue that we're not in a matrix. I'm sure you can think of many other examples going on today. The movie The Matrix, in many ways, is a dramatization of the philosophical discussion Rene Descartes made about an evil genius. But Descartes wasn't the only philosopher who proposed that our senses are unreliable and therefore cannot be trusted to help us understand reality. Plato, with his allegory of the cave, suggests that our senses only give us a vague idea of what reality is, like shadows on a cave. The only way to know what reality is, according to Plato, is deep contemplation. The idea that we can't trust our senses to know reality is a common one, and practical examples include mirages and phantom pains in amputees. People will point out that in the case of a mirage, we see water that isn't actually there, while in the case of phantom pains, we can point out that these people feel pains in a leg that has already been amputated. But an interesting thing is that somehow we know that the mirage isn't real, and the phantom pain isn't associated with any real leg. We know the difference between the case where there's phantom pain and where there's real pain. This has been an ongoing huge debate in philosophy, whether we can know reality or not, or trust our senses or not. The philosopher David Kelly, who I had the pleasure of meeting once, takes on these arguments brilliantly in his book, The Evidence of the Senses. His solution is that the senses, by definition, can't be deceived. The senses only give you information. They don't draw conclusions. So your senses are never wrong. It's only the conclusions you draw from your senses that are incorrect. Senses are just black boxes doing biological processes. Given that the sense is in a certain state, it will always give the same result. It's only when you process the signals from your senses that you then make a conclusion, such as there's a body of water, when there in fact is only a mirage. We have all experienced this, where we think we heard a noise when there was no sound, or when we think we feel something and there's nothing there. But the fact that we can tell the difference between a mirage and a real body of water shows that we do know that there's a difference. Our senses haven't deceived us. It's just that we've drawn an incorrect conclusion from what our senses provided us. In the case of a mirage, we can double check this premise by getting closer to the mirage, seeing that the water disappears. We know from physics that a mirage is created by heat coming off of a hot surface, creating a total internal reflection that looks similar to a body of water. The idea that your senses don't tell you anything about reality is basically to deny all of evolution. The whole point of why single-celled organisms evolved sense mechanisms was to find food and avoid danger. The earliest sense developed by single-celled organisms used the process of chemotaxis. Chemotaxis provides the ability to sense chemical gradients in the environment, which is similar to being able to smell. This allowed these single-celled organisms to move toward sources of food and away from harmful organisms. Now, the hardcore simulist would suggest that the evil genius or God is manipulating these other animals and organisms, as well as human senses, or all these other organisms are just simulations. This line of reasoning just ends up in a circular argument that they'll keep bringing up and has no end because they will deny any evidence. But this argument is a fallacy. It's called the Gigu fallacy. It's commonly found in hypothetical philosophical problems and other hypotheticals. In this argument, they hypothesize a fact that does not exist and for which there's no evidence. This results in what computer programmers call garbage in, garbage out. There's no evidence for this evil genius, this evil God that controls our senses. So this is just complete made-up garbage. When you make up garbage like this, you can end up with all sorts of erroneous and stupid conclusions. To be is to be something. As Ayn Rand said, A is A. That means that to be something is to be definite, defined, notwithstanding the absurdities of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. Therefore, if you are something real, there are limits to what you are. Unlike the omniscient, omnipotent Christian God, which is everything and therefore nothing. If we know that there's a reality and we think that we could be in a matrix, then there's a way to test it. There will inherently be a contradiction. This is the result of the law of identity. A is A. That contradiction in the matrix is illustrated by déjà vu events. The contradiction for people feeling phantom pains in an amputated leg is that they can see or can feel that their leg is gone. Thus, it's possible to distinguish what are incorrect conclusions because incorrect conclusions always lead to a contradiction. So yes, we can trust our senses. This argument that we can't trust our senses is propagated by charlatans to confuse people and destroy their ability to think. When you destroy people's ability to think, you set them up to be controlled. This is why Marxists and totalitarians and bullshit artists love Plato, Kant, Hume, and Hegel, who all argue we can't trust our senses. Long live freedom, damn it.